Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. The rich words of beautiful prayer carry an energy that infuses us with the sweet essence and the presence of God. And they carry us from difficult circumstances and settle us into a place of peace. Isn't that always how we feel after the anthem song that comes just before the Sunday message? And how we feel when we let the words, even familiar words of prayer that we know very well, to settle in us, to just wrap us in the embrace of that loving energy. One of our congregants at the first service told me that this particular prayer, the peace prayer, the prayer of St. Francis, has long been one of her favorites. And as she was completing a career, and sometimes the days and the work would be challenging, her coffee cup, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, got her through the day. Not so much the caffeine as the prayer. Because as you hold this cup, the words, where there is hatred, let me sow love, and the rest of that stanza of the prayer were in her consciousness. She said she held tight to this cup for a lot of years. I have held tight to a lot of prayer in my life and a lot of techniques, prayerful, meditative, and processes that allowed me to shift from whatever the troubled waters were in me into that place of peace. Now, the prayer of St. Francis is so well known and so revered, and St. Francis had little to do with it. In doing my research for this talk, I learned that it surfaced in the early 1900s, perhaps during the time of World War I. It was first published by a French priest in a little pamphlet that had to do with celebrating Mass in the Catholic Church. In the midst of World War I, it was printed as a prayer on a card, and the image of St. Francis was on the other side. Not attributed to St. Francis, but it seems it has forever since then become connected with this wonderful being and essence of God that we know as St. Francis. Isn't that an interesting correlation? I'm sorry to burst your bubble but I think it just enriches the story of it, and it does nothing to lessen the power and the beauty of those words, to carry us from a place of disturbance into a place of peace. The first line of that prayer is, make me an instrument of peace. How can I be an instrument? How can I be a shining light? How can I be the essence of peace in the world without first finding peace in myself? A very necessary part of the process. Because if I'm all spun up in agitation, I am not shining peace anywhere. You know how that works, right? Especially those of us who live in couplehood. Yeah, those of us who live with a cat don't have quite those same reminders all the time. I go to the cat to get calmed down, you know. What we want is a way to connect with this true essence, to express and experience that soothing feeling of the words of the peace prayer or the prayer of St. Francis. Rather than looking like this on many days, we hope to have the power within us and to be in touch with it in a way that allows us to shift our experience from this kind of despair into something more positive. And in Scripture we are said, if it be possible, as much as is in you, have peace with all men. It requires us being in touch with the peace in ourselves in order to spread peace in the world, so that we go from this kind of experience to something that's a little closer to this in our daily life. Now, people look at you funny if you sit like that at your desk, even in a church. Even in a church. But there are ways to move energetically and rapidly from this to this. And that's what we're after today. A couple of means of moving into new space when you need to. Charles Fillmore is our co-founder of the Unity Movement, and he had to say this: metaphysicians, that's you and me, we are all metaphysicians, students of truth, students of the study of the nature of our being and of the beingness of God. Metaphysicians who study the mind and its modes of action find that when they refuse to let thoughts of worry, anxiety, or other destruction act in their minds, they gradually establish an inner quietness that finally merges into great peace. This is the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. When this peace is attained, the individual gets inspirations and revelations direct from infinite mind. I would love to be direct wired to the mind of God. Yes? Yes. Albert Einstein said, I want to know what God thinks, because the rest is just details. I would like my experience to be drawn from the power and the energy of the infinite cosmos, from the source from which I came. And I absolutely believe this text in Genesis that says, we are made in the image and likeness. Now, maybe I've been an old white man with a long beard in some reincarnation, but that is not who I am now. And what I still know is that I am absolutely infused with the energy of God. And I know even more that when I remember it, anchor myself in it, and live from that place, then I look like the experience of love and light, essentially the energy of God moving in the world. That I can be a source for others to draw for strength and wisdom and possibility and inspiration, only if I am standing myself first in that place of peace that passes all understanding and connects me, direct link, to the infinite mind, so that I am infused with wisdom and clarity and inspiration and guidance in just the moment I need it. That's how we're meant to live. That's the image and likeness experience. And I've got a couple ideas how we can get there today. One is from the HeartMath Institute, a technique called freeze frame. In our ministerial training, Gary Levitt and Deb Knowles on the Big Island and I have had the opportunity for the last couple of weeks to work with Reverend David MacArthur from Walnut Creek Unity. He's been stepping in as a co-mentor of our current class, which is about the HeartMath technique and system. Reverend David has been participating in their work for 20 years. He was the first minister that came into the study of this process, these processes. It's a multiple set of techniques, and has been spreading and been an advocate for it in Unity for much of that time. So one of the foremost experts in training on the HeartMath information we've been able to steep in this week. And I thought, what a great technique at any point in turmoil in our life, in turmoil in the process of change, because change will stir up turmoil in all of us. Yeah, and what a great process for us to have as a rather instantaneous meditative tool to direct wire in the infinite mind, and I intend to share this good stuff with you this morning. Let's take a look at what it can mean for you. When we are in a state of agitation, frustration, anger, despair, confusion, that red jagged line on the left of that illustration is the track of our heart energy. And the energy of our mind and the energy of our heart sync up and travel together in pattern. In coherence is the term, no matter what it looks like. So when we are out of sorts and disconnected from the truth of our being, and in any emotional state that is not life-affirming and expansive, we look like that ugly red line on the left. When we drop in a technique that separates us from the negative experience we might be in, from the stress we are feeling, and realigns us with the energy of God, practically instantaneously, that energy pattern comes into that smooth sine wave coherence of the green line on the right half of the graph. And the line in between is the point where you made the shift consciously. It could be with prayer. It could be with, begins with awareness. We're going to talk about the HeartMath technique of freeze frame, which is a catch yourself, stop this emotion, move to something more productive. A conscious choice to change your state of awareness and your state of linking up to the divine. Viktor Frankl, an author, a gentleman who survived the concentration camp experience of World War II with great compassion and wisdom intact, said that between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. In that space lies, and in our response lies our wisdom and our intuition. And let's see how we can come in connection with that to move from the frustration to the appreciation on the right. Freeze frame is a 5-step process. The first thing is to become aware. Hello, I'm a little off kilter. Hello, I'm about to leap through and grab this person's throat. No, that won't serve this situation. To just become aware and acknowledge, I need to make a shift. The second is to focus on your heart for the intention of making that shift that you desire. To come back in alignment with the truth of your being. To come into alignment with the energy of God to more effectively release the stress, move into that beautiful sine wave pattern of appreciation and heart-mind coherence, which allows you to be in communication with the infinite knowledge and wisdom of the universe. And you make that shift by recalling a pleasant memory to take you from the emotion that's negative, anger, frustration, agitation. Recall something pleasant in your experience. Center on that. Feel into it, and it brings you to a different space. And then in that awareness, and now a new emotional state, ask your heart, what will make this situation easier? How can I deal with this person in front of me? How can I make a positive effect, a positive statement, a positive influence in this thing that's going on and causing me irritation right now? How can I use this positive state of alignment with truth to solve the issue that is frustrating me? And then listen. Now, this is a training wheels process up here, 5 steps. And the desire is to get from training wheels to you're standing in the middle of an argument with your boss and you are about to say something that's going to get you fired. You're about to stand on principle and it'll send you out the door. And you go through this process in your head in 10 seconds flat. And wait for the wisdom that may surface, or at least the calmness not to say something stupid in the moment. Because how many of us, you don't have to raise your hands with me, but how many of us in our moments of anger and frustration speak in tones, speak in ways, and say words that we then have to swallow ourselves later, and we have to recover the ground that we have stirred up rather than saying, okay, what wants to happen in wholeness in this space? The idea is to get there first before the ugly words come out of your mouth. So we practice this at home in the quiet of our minds, and we draw to us that person or that experience that most recently had us agitated. You know, a good, powerful one. an argument with your spouse, that discussion with your boss where you almost said the thing that nearly got you fired, the scolding you gave your child that you really felt badly about afterwards. Whatever it was, sit with that experience in your mind. Get that frustration just really present in you, because we can go right back to it in a second, can't we? Yes, we can. Husbands and wives and couples can nod, yes, we can. In an instant, we can go right back there. But then focus on your heart. In the midst of that agitation, really just focus your attention in the space of your heart. Not only is this the physical organ that's the powerhouse and the center of your physical being, it is literally the center of your conscious and spiritual beingness. This is where the energy of God rests in you. And when you focus there, you begin to make the shift into the new energy. And then, as I sometimes have done, I invite you to imagine that your breath is going in and out through your heart. Allow that sense of this energy of God being the filter for your breath in and out. And just breathe naturally, but keep imagining that it's going in and out through your heart. And then call to mind some really delicious experience in your past. As soon as I said that statement in the previous service, an image came to mind of the day I married my husband. And after our ceremony, we went over to a spot in Pebble Beach overlooking Monterey Bay, right on a bluff, cypress trees all around us. He leaned up against a cypress tree, and I leaned up against him. And the breeze is moving my little short, well-sprayed hair a teeny little bit. And it's blowing the skirt of my gown. And that's still one of my favorite pictures and a favorite moment from the day I said I do with that gentleman. And that's the feeling you're looking for. Any memory for you that soothes you and takes you to that place of, that's what you want to be experiencing. And then in that space of opening your heart and centering in your heart, ask yourself, what one thing can I do in the moment, in the face of this situation, that will cause healing, that will make it easeful, that will help me move through it gracefully and joyfully? And then listen. Listen for the movement of spirit in you. Now, when you become practiced, that experience can all happen in about 10 or 15 seconds while your boss is yelling at you and you're trying to shift so you don't yell back. But when you're practicing, sit at home and allow it to percolate in you. Allow you to feel the agitation of something, the centering in the heart, the remembering a beautiful experience, the question, what would make this better, and the listening. Often it pops up right then. Sometimes it percolates, and then when you come back to that experience, the right answer breathes itself into you, and you go, aha, here it is. Now I know what to do. So we're going to try this little exercise ourselves here in service this morning. I'm going to ask you to bring to mind that frustrating person or experience or conversation and get yourself ready, gear up into it a little bit with me so that we can become aware, we can focus in the heart, imagine we're breathing through the heart, we can call the pleasant memory so that we shift our energy. So you want to feel into the feelings of the beauty of that experience. You're welcome to stand on the bluff on Monterey Bay and Pebble Beach with me and feel the breeze blowing your clothing. And then ask your heart, what one thing will shift this experience? And listen, so that wisdom and intuition arises in you. So if you wish, close your eyes. Draw this experience into your awareness. Really feel the troubling energy for just a moment, and now focus on your heart. Breathe in through your heart and exhale through your heart. Allow this seat of the energy of God to be the filter of your breath in this moment. Now, find a memory so delicious it puts a smile on your face instantly. Feel into that experience. See it in your mind. Touch it with your energy. Be present in that moment of wonder and joy and delight. And from that space, ask in your heart, what can shift this situation that agitates me or disturbs me? How can I move back to peace and alignment? What one thing can I do that will make a positive difference? And listen. And wait for the presence of God in you to bring you to that peace. I invite you to just stay in that energy, being aware of the feelings of joy, being aware that you are breathing in and out through your heart, allowing yourself to feel the wisdom and energy of God moving through you, knowing that if it isn't arriving in this moment, it is still nurtured. You have planted the seed and it grows. You are seeking the place of peace in you so that you live as God's instrument. Hear the melody of God's love and presence in you as we come into the silence.